Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Pilgrim Story Hour. I'm Mony Dojeiji. And today I want to speak about synchronicities. And in their simplest definition, those are the unusual coincidences that seem to repeat themselves in our lives over and over again, be they in images, in words, in numbers, and that we're quite often likely to dismiss as being, well, just coincidences. But what if these so-called random coincidences actually had a purpose and they actually do have meaning? What if they are the universe's way of getting your attention, of letting you know that you are deeply loved, independent of what your spiritual beliefs may be, and that they are there to be guiding you and to be supporting you on your pilgrimage on or off the Camino? Now, for someone like me who grew up in this world of logic, rational, if it cannot be seen and touched, it doesn't exist worldview, this was a very difficult thing to accept. And it took me a long time to really understand what these synchronicities meant and to actually embrace them. And my work really became about opening up my heart and opening up my mind to the possibility that these synchronicities are indeed there to guide me on my journey. Now, I have so many stories that I can share with you around synchronicity, but I'm going to choose the one that actually set the foundation for how I would walk on the Camino and then later walk from Rome to Jerusalem. And it really began when I was deciding whether or not I wanted to quit my job. I was working at Microsoft at the time in their head office in Redmond in Washington State. Good money, great career, but really feeling unsatisfied, unfulfilled, and really struggling with the big questions of my life. Who am I? What am I going to do that has a little bit more purpose and meaning? And I was struggling with, okay, well, if I quit my job, well, what am I going to do next? Where is the money going to come from? How am I going to be able to support myself long term? And so it took a long time to be able to say, you know what, my personal happiness and my mental and emotional well-being is a lot more important than my job and my career. And eventually I made the decision to quit. It was around, I think, late 2000 at around that time. And I quit, but being open. I said, I am open to understanding what the next step in my life is going to be. I don't know what it looks like, but I'm willing to discover that. Now, the day I was cleaning up my office, and it was just a couple of days after I had made my decision, I received a phone call, and it was from my Pilates teacher, of all things, just letting me know that the class had been canceled. And she's, chatting on, and I'm kind of distracted as she's talking away. And she's saying to me, are you all right? And I said to her, well, I just quit my job, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do with my life. And she says to me, oh, well, there's a wonderful course that I know about by some very good friends of mine around discovering what your passions are all about and what really lights you up. And she's going on, and I'm saying, yeah, And she goes, well, if you want, I can find out when their next course is going to be. It might be really helpful to you. They travel all over the U.S. They're hardly ever home. But you know what? I will check out their website, and I will tell you when the nearest workshop is going to be. And I said, yeah, okay, sure. And she goes, I'll call you back shortly. And I didn't think any more of it, and I hung up the phone and just kept on packing up my things. Well, wouldn't you know, about 15 minutes later, she calls me up, and she's all excited. And she's saying to me, you're not going to believe this, that there was a misprint on their brochure. And where they normally would never be home during this time, they just happened to be home. And their home is only an hour and a half north of where I was actually living. It was at that moment that I kind of stopped and I thought, okay, I felt every hair on my body stand on end. I really felt as if I had stuck my finger in an electric socket. Everything was just energized. And I started to pay attention. She said, if they have a course, would you be interested in signing up? And I said, yeah, of course. So she goes, let me check again. She hangs up, she calls me back again and says, they're actually starting a course this very evening, and it starts in about 2 hours. I'm going to sign you up. I said, yeah, absolutely, sign me up. And that is what I did. Without thinking any more about it, without overanalyzing it as just being, okay, this is just coincidence and doesn't mean anything, I decided to follow it through to see what would happen. I went home, I packed up an overnight bag, and I drove the hour and a half north of the Redmond area where I was living. And for the next 3 or 4 days, it was a workshop where I was taken through a set of exercises to really try to figure out what it was that I was passionate about and what I loved. And during one of my sessions, the facilitator, said to me, do you not hear that there is an eagle calling? And I said to her, no, I didn't know what an eagle's call sounded like. She said, well, they knew that there was an eagle that was not too far in the mountains where they lived because they had heard it several times, and they had only seen it ever once before with another participant. And she said to me, well, pay attention. Perhaps what you're saying has some meaning, and perhaps eagle has something to say to you. And I didn't think much about it. And I said, okay, that's okay, I'll pay attention, not really understanding what that meant yet. And just about an hour or so later, as we were taking a break, actually, the grounds were quite lovely. It was in the mountains just north of the Seattle area. There was a beautiful rushing river beside us, majestic mountains, forest everywhere. It was a very idyllic setting. And so we were just sitting down and taking a break, and I was reflecting on all that had happened when everyone, the participants that were there were maybe 4 or 5 of us, everybody just stops and goes, would you look at that? And as I looked, there was, flying over the waters, an eagle. It flew over the waters of that rushing river, and it just disappeared ever so slowly into the majestic mountains that were just ahead of us. Everybody was excited, but the facilitators were especially excited for me, and they said, oh my God, that's a sign. You've got to understand what eagle means. You've got to investigate. That's come for you. And I thought, okay. They brought out some books, and I started to look at what they were talking about. And the more that I read about what eagle meant, the more I thought, oh, well, that's a pretty powerful invitation. That's a pretty powerful totem, being invited to soar high and to be able to touch spirit. I don't know if I'm ready to do that. I don't know who I am to really, who am I to be embracing something like this, and who am I, for something as powerful as an eagle to come to me. So by the end of the workshop, and as I left the workshop, I convinced myself that it was, just a lovely coincidence, and isn't it great that I was able to see an eagle, a once in a lifetime, I imagined, occurrence. Well, a couple of weeks later, as I had finished kind of packing up my life in Redmond and I was driving back towards Canada, my home, I decided that I would stop by, just to say hi to those facilitators, to those friends, and just to catch up. And I walked in, we were in the grounds, they had a lovely flower garden, I was admiring the flowers. And I was speaking to the woman, the facilitator who was there, and all of a sudden she stops and she says, turn around. And when I turned around, sitting or standing about, 20, 30, 40 feet away from me was an eagle. An eagle had landed, literally, in front of me. And I froze. And in that moment, that same feeling of electricity and energy that was surging through me, it all just made me stop. And in that moment, I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that this was a sign, an omen that I needed to pay close attention to. The eagle stayed for a moment, and it flew away very powerfully, very majestically back into the mountains from which it came. And I decided at that moment that I would stop resisting, that I would stop using my mind and my fears and my feelings of inadequacy to fight what this eagle was trying to teach me. And I committed myself to trying to understand what those teachings mean and how I can live in accordance with them. The eagle became the main symbol that I would follow when I was on the Camino and walking from Rome to Jerusalem. Anytime I saw the word eagle, or I saw a symbol of it or an image of it, I would stop. I would stop and I would look around. I would pay attention. to what was happening around me. I would especially pay attention to a person that would come my way, and I would have a conversation with them. I would pay attention to maybe an article that I was reading, or a newspaper that came my way, or a song that I was listening to. I would pay attention and tune in, look inwards to understand what it is that Eagle was trying to show me or teach me at that time. You know, I do believe that we live in a universe that is infinitely loving, and that we are all connected in ways that we can't possibly imagine, and that this universe is with us to guide us on our journeys. And it is what I invite you to consider today as a pilgrim, whether you're on the Camino or off the Camino, or thinking about walking, or as a pilgrim in life. I invite you to open yourself up to the possibility that there is a great loving hand that exists, that is with you in every single moment, guiding you and supporting you in your journey, wherever it may lead you. I thank you for listening to my story today and for tuning in. If you'd like to learn more about me and my pilgrimages, I invite you to visit my website, walkingforpeace.com, and I would love to hear stories of your synchronicities and those signs that have guided you on your journey. Thanks again for tuning in, and buen camino, pilgrims.